Lando Norris might lose the World Championship because the FIA just launched a new investigation into his car after the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Leaked data reveals Norris may have received unique setup advantages during the race and Oscar Piastri's side was completely left out. If even one regulation was breached, the FIA can disqualify Norris and award the title to Piastri, making him champion overnight. Subscribe now to stay ahead of the breaking updates because this isn't over, and Formula One history could change in a matter of hours. Just when everyone thought the 2025 Formula One season was over, the championship has been thrown into chaos. Lando Norris, who crossed the line in Abu Dhabi as the newly crowned world champion, is now at the center of a formal FIA investigation. The governing body has confirmed it is reviewing telemetry, radio messages, and car configurations after discrepancies surfaced in the data logs post-race. And those discrepancies could be big enough to cost him the title. At the center of this investigation is a set of irregularities found in the power unit deployment and traction control behavior of Norris McLaren during key moments in the final race. According to sources close to the FIA, a data anomaly triggered the review, specifically a string of laps where Norris gained consistent time in corners without any matching indicators of tire advantage, fuel load shift, or tire management differences. On paper, it looks like something was helping Norris, something Piastri did not have. The FIA's technical team immediately pulled full race logs from both McLaren cars and began comparing throttle traces, battery deployment patterns, and DRS activation sequences. Early findings suggest that Norris' car may have accessed a deployment mode that was either not declared to the FIA or not made available to Piastri. That would be a direct violation of Article 9.3.2, which enforces strict parity between teammates regarding engine modes and strategic tools. This isn't just a software problem, it's a sporting one. What makes the situation even more explosive is that this breach, if confirmed, occurred in a race where both McLaren drivers were mathematically still in contention for the title. That raises serious questions about internal team strategy. Did McLaren knowingly favor one driver? Did they deploy late race tools that gave Norris an edge, bypassing Piastri's side of the garage? The FIA has already opened the door to the possibility that this was not just an oversight but a structural imbalance. For Oscar Piastri, this news is nothing short of a bombshell. The young Australian drove one of the most consistent, calculated races of his career, staying within range, executing every lap with precision, and trusting his team's plan. But if that trust was misplaced, and if he was denied equal access to the tools his teammate received, then he may not just be a runner-up, he may be a wrong champion. And the FIA's next steps could be historic in scale. McLaren, for their part, have yet to issue a detailed comment beyond a short statement confirming they are cooperating fully with the FIA. But internally, tensions are reportedly high. Engineers from Piastri's camp raised questions during the weekend about last-minute changes in torque delivery, while others noticed discrepancies in tire telemetry feedback between the two cars. Whether these issues were accidental or deliberate will be the focus of the FIA's deep-dive technical audit. This investigation has ignited a storm across the paddock. Journalists, teams, and fans are now waiting for one decision that could overturn the final championship classification. If Norris is found to have raced with undeclared or unequal advantages, he could be stripped of the title, and Oscar Piastri, without turning another lap, could become Formula One world champion. The sport has seen controversies before, but never one like this, with a season decided not just by speed, but by justice. The data logs from the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix tell a story that the human eye couldn't catch. Lap after lap, Lando Norris maintained near-perfect traction, particularly in low-speed exits like turns 5, 7, and 14 sections where tire degradation should have started to show. Instead, his car displayed unusual consistency, with throttle trace lines showing smoother acceleration and less wheel spin than expected. That's what triggered the FIA's red flag, because Piastri's car, running the same compound on the same strategy, showed a natural drop-off. More than just traction, the FIA's attention quickly turned to battery deployment. The ERS, Energy Recovery System, release that delivers electric boost at specific points of the lap. Norris' deployment pattern began to shift subtly after lap 18. His battery was discharging earlier, but still maintaining top-end speed deeper into the straight. Normally, such a mode switch must be reported to both the FIA and the second driver's garage. But no such record has been found, and that's a major compliance issue. Side-by-side telemetry between Norris and Piastri revealed a consistent delta of approximately 0.2 seconds in sectors where power delivery matters most. That might not seem like much, but over a 58-lap race, it's nearly 12 seconds of potential advantage, and in a title decider, that's massive. Even more interesting was how that time was gained, not in braking zones or mid-corner rotation, but but at exit the exact moment where battery and torque mapping play their most crucial roles. Adding weight to the FIA's case is the timing of engineer communication. A specific radio call to Norris on lap 17 used a phrase not listed on McLaren's pre-race mapping sheet, something like "mode echo confirmed," according to leaked transcripts. While it might sound harmless, coded instructions like these are only legal if disclosed in advance to both cars. Piastri, by contrast, never received that instruction. If that triggered a deployment change, the breach is both technical and procedural. The FIA has also requested internal McLaren logs to cross-check torque delivery settings and battery recovery thresholds. These back-end files go deeper than what the TV broadcast or public data shows. They reveal whether Norris' car was preset with a hidden override mode, possibly uploaded before the race began. If that mode allowed his car to bypass standard recovery limitations under heavy braking, it would have given him more consistent ERS charge and a clean power advantage exiting slower corners. Tire degradation also comes into play. According to Pirelli's post-race reports, both McLaren started on identical tire pressures and compound cycles. Yet Norris' tire wear remained significantly lower during the critical second stint. That doesn't align with traditional driving style differences alone. If torque delivery was gentler, thanks to a hidden mapping advantage, that would naturally preserve the rubber. Once again, that kind of benefit must be shared equally, and it clearly wasn't. For Piastri, the evidence only strengthens his position. He may have finished behind Norris on paper, but the FIA's findings suggest he was racing with a mechanical handicap he never agreed to. The telemetry doesn't just reveal who was faster, it reveals why. And if that why points to unequal tools or technical trickery, then the regulations are clear: the result cannot stand. This isn't about speculation anymore. It's about numbers, and those numbers are pointing toward a stolen title. At the heart of this investigation lies the concept of technical parity, a core principle in the FIA's sporting and technical regulations. Teams are required to give both drivers equal access to performance tools, from engine modes and energy deployment settings to aerodynamic configurations and brake balance programs. In Norris' case, the FIA is now reviewing whether McLaren broke this rule by selectively enabling settings that Piastri could not access. If that proves true, it's not a gray area, it's a direct breach of fairness. Modern F1 cars are essentially rolling supercomputers, with hundreds of software parameters managing everything from throttle mapping to energy recovery behavior. These parameters are logged in real time through the standard ECU, a mandated unit supplied by the FIA and used to monitor compliance across all teams. When the FIA pulled Norris and Piastri's post-race data, they weren't just looking at lap times. They were checking for deployment maps, state-of-charge behaviors, and most importantly, any mid-race activation of unregistered modes. In Norris' case, the FIA identified irregular battery deployment that didn't match any of the declared energy modes submitted before the race. This means that either a new mode was introduced and not registered, or an existing one was modified without proper disclosure. These settings influence how the car harvests and releases power, especially under braking and acceleration. If one driver had access to a more aggressive release curve, that could explain the lap time delta seen during the second stint. Another area under scrutiny is torque management. In dry conditions like Abu Dhabi, small changes to torque delivery can dramatically affect traction and tire wear. The FIA suspects that Norris may have benefited from an optimized torque ramp rate, which would allow him to get on the throttle earlier without spinning up the rear tires. If such a setting was modified specifically for his car and not Piastri's, it constitutes unequal treatment and could have artificially protected Norris from degradation issues. Teams often use engineer code words to refer to strategic changes, like Mode 6 or Strat Delta. These are only legal if pre-approved and logged. But what raised eyebrows in Norris' telemetry was a mid-race instruction reportedly not on the FIA's approved communications list, followed by a measurable shift in energy output and power on acceleration. If that command triggered a software override or an updated mode, and if it was kept hidden from the other side of the garage, that's a procedural violation. The FIA is also digging into McLaren's internal deployment maps, comparing the version histories used by each car. These maps are version-controlled software packages loaded before each session. Any divergence between the two cars would show up in the changelog. If Norris ran a different version that had a higher deployment limit or better harvesting profile, even by a fraction, it could have translated into real-world lap time. Such an update would also require prior approval, which so far does not appear to exist in the records. In summary, the investigation isn't just about whether Norris drove better, it's about whether he raced with an advantage that Piastri never had access to. The technical tools in Formula One are powerful enough to swing entire races by tenths of a second. But they're tightly regulated to protect the principle of equal machinery within a team. The FIA's role now is to determine whether those regulations were broken and if they were, to apply the rules, even if that means rewriting the 2025 championship standings.